Hi there. Today the book I'm going to talk about is one of the most significant books in the field of firearms and handguns. It was eagerly awaited when it was published in, I think, 1975 by the people in the group where I was shooting. We were all quite keen on what was called combat shooting back then, and we all followed Colonel Cooper's columns in the Guns and Ammo magazine. And when this book was announced, we couldn't really wait for it to hit the shops. And as soon as it did, I picked up my copy, and this is it. Cooper on Handguns by Colonel Jeff Cooper. The book is outstanding on the history of firearms, right through from the earliest models up to the most modern, and it's also excellent on different types of firearms. The Colonel goes into the ins and outs of everything from the black powder revolvers right up to the current at the time most radical pistols, and discusses the design evolution of them. There's a lot of good material on holsters in particular as well. He probably was the first to mention the SNCC holster, which was plastic and was the forerunner of the Kydex holsters now, which have taken the industry by storm. Probably the meat of the book for all of us was the section on competition. He discusses all the different types of pistol competition, the traditional target shooting, ISU, the Olympic type shooting, with various types of 2.2 or small caliber weapons, right up through the PPC revolver shoots to the modern combat competitions. And he outlines several courses of fire which we set up and started to shoot. So we learnt a lot from that part of it. The disappointing part was there's no section really on the technique of the pistol, how to shoot it. The Colonel was in the process of founding API, the American Pistol Institute, and I think he wanted to keep the doctrine to a select group. He didn't really want to publicise. He didn't want it falling into the wrong hands, really. The book, I got it autographed by the Colonel in 1976 in Austria, first time I met him, and he crossed out part of it and he put text by Jeff Cooper. He was not at all happy with the photographic content of the book. Peterson Publishing, who did Guns and Ammo, they just put loads and loads of their stock photographs in, some of them with their editorial staff and writers who cover different parts of shooting, and some were just advertising material. And it didn't really illustrate what the Colonel was trying to talk about. In fact, a lot of the shooting techniques in the book, or shooting techniques shown, which just to illustrate a different pistol, for example, are not really what was taught. There are all sorts of weird stances shown, for example. So he wasn't happy with that. The great contribution that Colonel Cooper made was to found a completely new sport. Just like the UFC is the founder of the international sport of mixed martial arts, the Colonel's original experiments with open, unrestricted competition led to IPSC shooting, which is now an international shooting sport, and it goes throughout the world, and massive competitions are held. And just like the UFC, it's also developed over the years. It's almost unrecognizable from the original concept. What the Colonel did was a lot of the competitions at the time were restricted as to weapons type. For example, you could only use a 2-2 pistol, or you could only use a revolver. Or parts of the competition would be restricted to how you shoot. International Olympic type shooting is all done one-handed. And the Colonel, with his inquiring mind, said, well, what if there's a better way? You know, if we've got these rules, we'll never find it. So he started the open, unrestricted competitions, and which allowed people to find out what worked over the years, and now we know. There are now offshoots of the original IPSC, such as IDPA, which, to be honest, is more in line with what the Colonel's original idea was. The P, the practical element, comes into it. It's using weapons that you could carry every day, and concealed, and holsters that you could carry every day. So IDPA is probably closer to what he really envisioned. The other thing that you could say the Colonel was responsible for was, because of competition, people found out the need to have the pistols working to quite a high level. For example, although revolvers sometimes, particularly the Smith & Wessons, had really nice sights, a lot of the auto pistols didn't. The Colt auto pistol came out of the box with really insufficient sights. You couldn't see them. They were fine for target type shooting, but they were no good for high speed close range shooting at all. So we started modifying the pistols, putting sights on, extended safety catches, in some cases throating the barrel to feed hollow point ammo, that kind of thing. And they became standard to the point where now when you buy a pistol, they come out of the box like that. So he changed the whole industry, where it's now normal. People don't even think about it. They pick up an auto pistol that's got good sights. So those two big massive things can be traced directly back to Colonel Cooper. Colonel wrote several other books which kind of cover his philosophy and his travels, his adventures, hunting, teaching all over the world, this kind of thing. And we will be covering those books in future episodes of this YouTube channel. I'll just finish by saying that one of the Colonel's colleagues said, without Jeff Cooper, we'd still all be shooting revolvers one-handed. So all the elite military units, the elite law enforcement units, the way they shoot and the way they train up, they were all influenced at some stage by instructors from civilian competition with a background in IPSC. So it's a tremendous legacy, and this book really is the one that was his kind of most significant in that evolution. It came out just before he started his school, which again was another thing. His was the first open training school where people could go and learn the pistols, and shoot the pistols at a very high level. Now there's probably hundreds of them. So we owe him a lot, and this book is the one to put on your gun book library and read it frequently.